Welcome, everyone. We have something special tonight. And I've got my little co host with me, who I'll introduce in a second. But tonight we are celebrating women. It's Women Honoring Women. And I have a guest with me tonight, Dr. Janet Schuler, who is a recipient of one of the Own It Women Celebrating Women Awards. And she's going to talk to us a little about that, what it means to her. And I am your guest host this evening. Some of you may know me from the Monday and Tuesday platforms that I've been guest hosting on the Own It platform. So tonight is the first for me guest hosting this special edition of Women Celebrating Women. And my sidekick here is my little guy, Lucky. And he likes to come on these videos. He loves being on the Own It platform. And he's not going to say anything. He's going to be quiet. So with that, Lucky and I are going to turn it over to Dr. Janet Schuler, who's going to introduce herself to us. And she's going to tell us, why she was chosen for this award and what it means for her.
Well, first of all, I wanted to say thank you for the warm welcome, Teresa. And Lucky is precious. Later on, I may be able to let everybody see my French bulldog, Smokey. But first of all, a little about me. Obviously, my name is Dr. Janet Schuler. I am a retired educator. I spent over 40 years in the world of education, and I came up through the ranks. I was a teacher, a literacy coordinator, a principal, an adjunct professor at Seton Hall University. And then when I retired, I went into full-time ministry. So that's a thumbnail sketch about me, but probably aside from my professional resume, the most important roles of my life have been mom and grandma. I have 5 children. They're adults now and have spouses, and I have 8 grandchildren whom I'm very, very proud of. So that's a little bit about me. Now, why was I chosen to be a woman that was honored by Own It magazine? I've worked with Dr. Marisa Blodorn. I've worked with her, or I should say she's worked with me from the very first international conference that she hosted in the Dominican Republic. It was a stellar conference, and my dear friend, Pastor Easter, and we were there really to be a prayer support. And also we were authors with the Own It magazine. And so we've remained in relationship since. And you know how Dr. Marisa is. She can draw the best out of everyone. And she saw some, really good qualities in me. And I'm so thankful for that. I think for me, one of my strongest qualities, if you will, is resilience. I can take a licking and keep on ticking. For those of you that are too young or younger than I am, that was an old Timex commercial, which everyone in my generation knew backwards and forwards. But resilience and persistence in the face of resistance is a hallmark characteristic of mine, and it has gotten me through some rough patches into greener pastures.
That's so nice to hear. And you really touched on something. You touched on my alma mater, which is Seton Hall University. And I spent a lot of time at Seton Hall. I was born and raised in New Jersey, and up until the end of 2015, I lived in New Jersey. Now I reside in Alabama, and hopefully over this coming year, I'll be residing on the Gulf Coast in Florida. Fingers crossed. And I went to Seton Hall. I did my undergraduate nursing there. I did that for 4 years. Then I decided to pursue a master's degree in nursing. And we're going back to 1977 and 78. And nurse practitioners were not well known. Seton Hall was one of the first universities to have, it was called, it was a master's degree in primary care, an advanced nursing degree. And I was working, got married, bought a house, had a mortgage. Took me 8 years part-time to go through Seton Hall because I got scholarships for my advanced nursing. But the amount of money they gave every semester was only enough for me to take a course in a clinical. So by the time I got through all those credits, everybody that came and went, everybody knew me because they would come, they would be there a year and a half. And during that year and a half, they would see me, who was still there. So finally, in December of 1985, I had my last scholarship, my last credits, my last 6 credits. And I wasn't at Seton Hall again. So it's good to hear from somebody that was an adjunct professor at Seton Hall.
Since you're mentioning Seton Hall, I just have to say, my doctoral degree and my master's were in education, which specifically was educational leadership management and policy. Well, I just want to share a kind of a fun story that may give somebody else some inspiration. Once I graduated, first of all, Seton Hall must be very cutting edge. You were in a first program of its type, and I was their first guinea pig for distance learning. I was in their very first cohort where you could get an earned master's through distance learning. And they wanted to, quote, keep the rigor in the distance learning. Well, we almost had rigor mortis by the time we were done with the program because they rigored us to death. I guess they were afraid that the degree would be substandard. So we did twice as much work. Bottom line, I received a good reputation with my professors, and they were pretty much begging me to take my doctorate. And I have 5 children. So they were coming up in the ranks for college or VOTEC and this and that. And they said, please, you need to take your doctorate. You need to. I said, please stop asking me, because they asked me several times. I said, please stop asking me. It is causing me to eat my heart out that I have to say no each time. But I can achieve professional objectives with my master's. And now I need to prioritize my children for their education. Well, I'm sharing this story because somebody needs to hear it. When it is God's will, it will happen. And so if there's someone out there that needs a higher degree and money is an object, I understand that. Having 5 children, money was an object. And God provided in a way I never would have expected. I did not apply for a scholarship. I wasn't really a minority. I didn't have a lot of money, but I didn't qualify for poverty. I didn't fit any of the boxes for scholarships. Bottom line, I got a phone call asking me if I would like to take my doctorate. I said, I told you to stop asking me that. They said, well, wait a minute, you didn't let us finish. We want to offer you a full ride. We want to offer you a scholarship and we'll pay you $500 a month.
Wow.
I can't make it up. And crazy me, I said, wait a minute. Because the requirement of my doctorate was that I had to take a full credit load every semester. Well, I had kids. I was working a job as a principal. I didn't know where the time was going to come from. So I said, let me think about it for a day or two. And the answer obviously was yes. I took it, and I'm very thankful for it. So just saying that because not to be colloquial about this, but God makes a way where there is no way. And there was no way for me to get my doctoral. And here I am.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing how things work out because the master program for this nurse practitioner had really just started. And actually, I was one of four people, and five people applied, and only four of us got in. And the government was stepping in because they wanted nurse practitioners trained, because at the time, they were only trained through the VA. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it wasn't a degree program. It was taking RNs who worked at the VA, and the government was training them because there was a shortage of doctors in certain areas. They could foresee the future as to what was happening. So Seton Hall applied me for it. They just applied me and said, your grades are good. You should be able to get a scholarship. And I did. And it continued for my 8 years. I was probably the longest person on a scholarship. And I never did go back to my doctorate. That just wasn't something that I really had wanted to undertake. It's funny now because somebody was telling me the other day that if you have enough money, you could actually buy a master's degree or a PhD. Now, you can't do it in nursing. You could only do it in certain things because nursing requires hands-on clinicals. So you can't pay your way. But this person was telling me it's like outrageously priced. And this person was kind of joking about it, and said, oh, well, if I had like $125,000 or whatever it was, I'd go back and I could just apply online and get my degree. I don't know exactly what it was in, but I thought, oh my goodness, don't tell me now that we're even diluting our education, because that's not really, all the people that work so hard. And then all of a sudden, if you have the money, you could just get something. I don't know, but that's a topic for another time. But I wanted to talk about, we were talking a little bit backstage about how women could either help women and support women or not help and support women. And I think it's more common than we want to think about because, there's two types of energy that we all have. There's a feminine energy and a masculine energy. It has nothing to do with our gender. It's just at the crudest level, we're all energy. Feminine energy is intuitive, compassionate, works with joy, works with love, and comes from the heart. The masculine energy is logical, goes by the facts, goes A, B, C, D, and that's how they do it, very logically. So a lot of times as women, we have more capacity to have this, to tap into this feminine energy. And it opens our heart more. And as we have an open heart, we're more willing and nurturing to help other women because we're compassionate. We show love. We actually get happy for other people. But then jealousy and our ego could step in, especially if we really wanted something. And when we don't get it for whatever reason, we could turn on other women. And I know I've been through it. I'm going to be very honest and vulnerable about it. Yes, I've done that. Am I proud of it? No, but I did it. There were times when I even said things to people that the weren't the best things that I could have said to them. Kind of a congratulations with a little knife in it at the same time to let them know that maybe they didn't quite deserve this type of thing. So I'm just being vulnerable and admitting that. And I know you had shared also that you had gone through things. So as women, what are some tools and what could we use when this crops up in our mind, when we go not to support a woman? How then do we turn that around to a positive to support that woman, even though we may be feeling jealousy about it? or anger.
And sometimes somebody is promoted or whatever, and it's, quote, not just. You were overqualified for the job and they were underqualified and you were passed by. P.S. That's a vulnerable moment. That happened to me. So for me, I pray. I do. And that is very helpful to me. And when I feel like God is speaking to me, and it's usually not an audible voice, it's just an impression I have in my heart. In this particular instance, when I was passed by, I was not happy about it. I couldn't even pretend to be happy about it. I'm very real. I'm not too much with pretensions. We speak frankly. And so I was washing dishes at my kitchen sink, and going over everything in the theater of my mind, very begrudgingly. And, basically whining to God about how unfair it was. And what I got this sense of in my heart was, it was like, Janet, you can stay in this chapter for as long as you would like, or you can forgive it and move on. And I instantly chose to forgive the injustice, inequity, or whatever of the situation, because I didn't want to be stuck in that chapter. I didn't want that portion of the theater of my mind to keep replaying like a bad movie. I needed to move on. And true story, within 24 hours, can't make it up, within 24 hours after I forgave it and determined in my heart that I would move on, someone called me. Someone called me and said, we'd like to interview you for this position. And it turned out to be like the best position of my life. I got hired in a poverty district. And one would think, oh, what is that fun? It was fabulous. I was in a poverty district. I was probably the only one that looked like me. And sometimes you can have reverse prejudice and whatnot. Bottom line, I just absolutely loved where I was. And I find that if you love someone genuinely, you get back what you give out. And so the children that I loved me back. And I need to write a thank you note to the person that passed me by, because it turned out to be an opportunity for me. But I do believe, had I not forgiven it and chose to say, that's in the past, now I need to face forward, I truly believe I would have wallowed in my self-pity for a while.
I love the stories. I love getting to know people, because until we were backstage, I didn't even know who you were. And I love those stories, and I could see why you were honored, because of your capacity for forgiveness, to be compassionate, to have gratitude. And, sometimes I've taken the attitude that it just wasn't the right time, that, things just didn't happen because they weren't supposed to happen. And I could either try to fight it, and I could resist it, and like you said, wallow in it, or be angry about it, or kind of lash out at somebody for it, or be mad about it and say, what's going on here? Why didn't this happen? I deserve this. I should have this, but it's not the right time. Now, could it happen a year later, 2 years later? Yes, because sometimes what we want and what we get aren't on the same timeline. And sometimes if we would have gotten something before we were ready to receive it, it wouldn't have worked out for anybody's highest good, ours or any of the people that we serve. I don't think we would have been able to serve anybody. And then you look at this little guy here. Dogs, what do they do, Lucky? Yeah, if they have to fight, they bark, they fight, and that's it. Like I said, when it's over, and you don't hold a grudge. Lucky, right? That's exactly what dogs do. That's what the animal kingdom does. And here we are supposed to have more intelligence. And sometimes we don't see the forest through the trees.
It's true.
But, I think that even the fact that Own It has honored these women shows such capacity for support, that we could really support each other and that we're all really in it together. And I know the men are being honored too. That's they have their own honoring and their own ceremonies. But I think it's so important that what's been done with these awards and the people chosen is we've all been chosen for a reason. I myself was a recipient of this award. We've all been chosen for a reason. And I think we need to now do our service because of that reason. We're out there, regardless of what our business is, what our profession is, we are out there to serve others. And in whatever capacity that we do that. And I think this award reminds us of that, that the award, it's nice to have the award and it's nice to be honored, but it's really giving to us in service and to continue our service. So as much as it's for us, and it is, it's also for the people that we serve. And so it's really like honoring, I think it's like honoring everybody in the world. So I'd like to get your take on that.
Wow. Well said. And congratulations on your award. And I do think that is, it's so, we're standing for women, and women, not just, women celebrating women, women honoring women. And in that same breath, I just have to, I really do, I have to just honor Dr. Marisa for having that award, for seeing the qualities in us as women, and drawing out the different qualities that shine. And I just so appreciate that of her. And it really is. I literally read through the magazine with each woman's contributions and their take on all of the soul-searching questions that she asked. And it really is such an honor to stand among awesome, awesome women. And I just really, I think you hit it on the head. We're standing for many women. There are women that, quote, didn't receive the award, but we stand with them because there's something of such virtue within each of them.
Yeah, I too read everybody's. I love to read everybody's biographies. I love when people are interviewed and you get to know the backstory of who people are, kind of what inspired them, what kind of gave them that push forward. And I have to tell you, it was so interesting because the backgrounds are so diverse. They're just so diverse. There's so many different walks of life. And to me, that's just so interesting that, you're standing among women that you may not know personally, but when you're reading about them, these may be people that in your profession or in your walk of life, maybe you wouldn't come across because they're doing something maybe totally different in a totally different part of the world. And yet we're connected to them. And I just find that just so fascinating that there's this thread that runs through everybody, that even though we don't know each other, we get to know each other by reading about each other, doing these interviews, and just standing with other women that have their own unique values. It's like we're all unique, and I believe every person is unique. We're all unique, but yet that same there's a thread that runs through all of us that I think
Yeah,
connects all of us with this
I
award.
agree.
And I think that's our gratitude, our joy, our compassion. I think it's our open heart. And I think that this type of award really opens up your heart to its fullest capacity because it's it's given to you for service. And what better way to be recognized for than for the work that you do, the contributions that you make, and how each one of us is the change that we want to see in the world. We all are unique individual and we're all change makers
Mm,
because the work that each of us does contributes to a better world. And I think that's what this award, at least that's what it's shown for me, that
I
this
really
award is
like what you
something.
said just there about change makers. That's like a passion of mine, is
Yeah.
to be a change agent. There's so much going on in the world, and we get to choose our attitude, and we can reproduce that attitude in others. I mean, how many times, true confessions, myself included, how many times have I had a day that was filled with bumps in the road, and somebody smiled at you? Someone said an encouraging word. It doesn't always have to be that you're this big mega whatever businesswoman, and oftentimes it is the mega businesswoman because she's walking in confidence, and she's walking with an attitude that she can share. But how many times have we had somebody dump on us and it be negative? So it's, you know, there was a man, Viktor Frankl, and he was unfortunately a Nazi concentration camp prisoner. And he said the last right of all mankind is we get to choose our attitude. And if I can choose my attitude, even when the chips are down, if I can choose my attitude, then I can, God willing, mantle and reproduce that attitude. And I find that an encouraging word goes a long way.
It
And so
definitely does.
I'm thankful for the people that encouraged me and helped me. And may I pay it forward.
Yeah, I think you said it right there. I think it's a perfect way to end this, is that paying it forward.
Mm,
It's all about paying it forward, that what we've been given, we
that's good.
pass it on to others, and we give it generously. We give it without holding things back. We give it because it's something that's needed. And every person, man, woman, everyone has this capacity to be that change agent, to give fully and completely their gift.
Mm,
And
that's good.
I just think it's just so inspiring to know that each person out there has their own unique gift that they contribute to the world. And that's what makes the world. We may look at the world and say, oh, there's a lot of chaos, there's a mess, but there's so much beauty in the world, and there's so much as people. I think everything just makes us come together and makes us stronger. And I think that women, no offense, men, but I think as women, I think we have such a capacity to be these change makers, to really make a difference in the world, to stand together and to make a difference. Is there any last words you would like to say before we end the interview?
Uh, just that I think you hit it on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me be a change maker that pays it forward. And I, anyone struggling with having a positive attitude, I remember one day I was challenged. I took a same walk every day through the same path, and I was challenged to see something, to literally look for something of beauty every time I took a walk. I said, "You're kidding me, right?" I mean, because to me it was a boring walk, and after 20 times, and So I actually accepted the challenge. And do you know, I started to begin because I was looking for it. I began to see something new of beauty every day. Even it was like a small bud of flower all of a sudden bloomed. And it caused me to change my thinking so that I was looking for beauty and I found it.
Yeah, there's beauty in everything. And I know every time I walk my dog, every time Lucky and I take a walk, he goes out with a new mind. Like it's the first time he's going down the same path, but he's looking around. So, you know, every day we enter life with a clean slate, with a new way of looking at things and a way to find beauty in everything. So, with that, I'm going to end this. I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight. And again, congratulations on your award. And I'm glad that I got to know you. So, thank you very much for this. I really enjoyed our time here today.
Thank you. Likewise.